Hello and welcome to the Live Life Extraordinary podcast. My name is Bianca. I'm a business owner, yoga teacher, holistic nutritionist, and retreat host. My mission is to guide you in creating a life of true fulfillment and lasting happiness. I teach practical tools that help you live with purpose and consciously create the life of your dreams. If you're looking to uplevel your mindset, your confidence, your relationships, your abundance, your spirituality, and so much more, then you've come to the right place. Think of this podcast as your personal roadmap to transforming your life from ordinary to extraordinary. I know that in such a short time, you will experience transformation beyond your wildest dreams. Thank you so much for pressing play today. Now let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Live Life Extraordinary podcast. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about energy and why so many of us feel really burnt out and depleted all the time, and what we can do to start getting some of our energy back. So, the reason that there is this kind of chronic feeling of burnout and exhaustion and lack of motivation is really because we are expected to do so many things all the time, right? We are dedicated to our work and our families and our homes and our friendships and relationships. And it often leaves very little time for ourselves, for self-care, for our passions and hobbies, and truly the things that give us energy. I also think that currently we're in a technology age where we're expected to be available all the time, which wasn't always the case in human history. You know, before, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, they would call your house phone and leave a message. And if you weren't home, you would just call back when you return. Well, now that we have these devices that are attached to us all the time, we're kind of expected to always be available for a phone call or a text or a Facebook message or whatever it is. We're being kept on, quote unquote, all the time. And we're not really ever disconnected from these expectations that we have from the world around us. So there's not a ton we can do about that, right? Like, one of the things you can do is set boundaries around your time and your device, and just saying, like, I personally, you can set boundaries in a relationship with yourself or with, others. You can say to yourself, like, I will not be responding to calls or text messages after 7 p.m. on the weekdays, or I will not, respond to calls or text message on Sundays, or, whatever personal boundaries it needs to be with yourself. And you can communicate those boundaries with others too, if you feel like it's necessary, especially if there's anyone in your life that's kind of giving you a hard time about setting those boundaries personally. So that's something you can do to kind of make yourself a little less available. And I highly encourage that if you are someone who has a work laptop that goes home with you or a work phone that goes home with you, that you set very strong boundaries around that, because companies don't care and they will keep you working all hours of the day if they can. So it's super important to recognize that your expectations are to work during your working hours. And if it's not your working hours, that you should not be expected to be available at all times. So that's one thing, is setting boundaries around the expectations around you. And this could be other expectations too. Like, if you feel like, I don't know, if you have young kids who are in school and you feel like you have to go to PTG meetings or something like that, or you have to volunteer for something, or you have to donate to something or whatever, recognizing when you are at capacity and allowing yourself to say no to things when you know that you don't have the ability to give yourself fully to those things. So setting boundaries with your time and the expectations that you have of yourself, as well as the expectations that other people have of you. The other part to this that I've recently discovered and has truly been life-changing for me, as someone who's struggled with chronic fatigue since I was in high school, is we think that when we're tired that we need to rest, right? That's what makes sense. We get tired at night, we go to bed and we rest. And so a lot of us are choosing to rest from our lives in the form of scrolling on social media, or, binge watching a television show or something like that. And rest is a very important factor. But while we are doing those things, our mind is remaining active, even if it feels like you're not super engaged. And when your mind is remaining active, you're really not truly resting. So true rest could be something like where you're completely unplugging and detaching. Like it could be a walk outside. It could be, meditation or journaling or something like that. The other aspect of this is we've all heard the concept you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And so many of us are running on empty all the time. We've poured into all these other people and all these other areas of our life, and we have simply nothing left for ourselves. And so for many of us, the problem isn't that we're not resting enough or that we don't have enough downtime, but that the problem is that we're not doing anything to refill our cup, right? So when you're doing those kind of mindless tasks and activities, your cup just remains empty. You've poured out all day and then your vessel remains empty. There's nothing that's pouring back into you. So you have to think about the things that really light you up and give you energy and pour back into you. So I know that when I was really exhausted and really starting to think about what changes I needed to make in my life, that I could not name a single thing that brought me energy at all. It felt like everything was just so depleting and so impossible. So if you're feeling that way, you're definitely not alone. There are many, many other people who feel the same way. But this conversation recently came up in the women's circle that I host every month. And some of the things that people talked about that I thought were really incredible was something as simple as just like opening up the windows and getting some fresh air or some cool air. When I was really struggling with like depression and I was really low energy and really unmotivated all the time, I found that cold exposure was really, really great for giving me energy. Sometimes that could be like swimming, or that could be a cold shower, or if it's wintertime where you are, it could be that as well. So other things that people said were something as simple as just washing your face. That like when you wash your face and your face is clean, that you just feel so much better and more energized. So there's little things we can do to kind of like spark energy. And then from there, you can build bigger, right? Small steps equal big changes. This is something I've been saying a lot lately because I think a lot of us feel like, oh, I have to work out every single day for an hour in order to be physically healthy. You know, I have to eat this perfect diet and cut out all oils and sugars and processed foods and, whatever permanently to be healthy. And that's when we get into this all or nothing mentality, that's when we often quit, because the second that life steps in the way, and life is going to step in the way, you're going to get a flat tire, someone you love is going to be sick, someone you care about is going to pass away, you're going to get sick, life is going to continue to happen. But the second life happens and you break that habit that you're building, we get so discouraged that we give it up entirely, right? So we go from that all to the nothing. So if you can shift your mindset around, oh, I need to do everything all the time, to instead, I'm going to prioritize small steps and small sustainable changes that I can continue day after day, that's when you're going to have the most success, right? I stopped a couple years ago setting goals at the beginning of the year because every single time it felt like as soon as I wasn't reaching those benchmarks that I set for myself, I was giving up completely, and that doesn't help us in any way. So definitely thinking about like what small things you can do to kind of spark your energy. And then from there, think about what really pours into you and what really makes you feel nourished and work on those things. So that could be painting if you're like into art, or some other sort of crafting if you're a creative person. That could be going for a walk outside. That could be talking on the phone with a friend who re-energizes you. This actually kind of happened to me recently where I had a super long day. I work during the day as a nutritionist, and at night I have the yoga studio, and I was feeling really depleted from my day job, and I went to the studio and I was still feeling really, really depleted. And at the end, a friend stopped at the studio to see me, like totally surprised me, and we just had like a quick 5-10 minute interaction. And I went home that day and I was planning on just going to bed, even though it was like 7 p.m. because I was just completely drained from the day. And I was just so energized that I like took my dog for a walk and I called my grandmother, and like it really shifted my energy and my mood. So I'm not saying to be super reliable on other people to always like motivate you and make you feel good, but just thinking about like, are the activities that I'm doing in my downtime leaving me empty, or are they refilling my cup? Are they recharging my batteries? And if they're not, what small sustainable things can I do to spark my energy so that I can build bigger and do more things that energize me and nourish me and make me feel full and supported. So I hope that this gave you a fresh perspective on how you're spending your time and what it will be beneficial for you in making positive change in your life. If you have any questions or any topics you would like to have answered or covered on the podcast, feel free to send me an email at biancadeluco@gmail.com, and I would love to incorporate whatever it is that you're going through in the podcast so that you know that you are guided and supported in whatever life is bringing you right now. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the podcast, and I cannot wait to connect with you again soon.